This whole coronavirus crisis began for us about 70 days ago in Cuba. At the start, we weren't affected at all, being in the middle of nowhere with absolutely no one around. But then a Cuban military vessel told us we had to go right there and then. No question about whether we had food, fuel or water. Just go now. There was some wind, but mostly not. We travelled at an average speed of less than 2 knots, covering less than 50 nautical miles per day for the next 9 days. The boat pendulumed roughly 36,000 times during the lulls, and my brain turned into cooked porridge. But it wasn't all bad. Check out the dolphins. I just love these dolphins. We were so happy to find a secluded bay in the Dominican Republic with no one here, no roads and no development. Just beautiful tall cliffs with clear water and white sandy beaches. We were looking forward to sleep and hiding out here for 3 weeks until the quarantine was over. But it wasn't to be.
I'm just trying to see where to show them where we were. $31.
31.
Sí, lo que consigas comprar de vegetales y frutas.
Frutas y vegetales solo.
Now there's an improvement, people, in 2 regards. I shouldn't say it too loud because Margarita might adopt this forevermore, and I really don't want that. After all, she hasn't returned what's in her bloody purse.
So they knew exactly that when we arrived yesterday around 4. They were informed probably by the that station that it's there, that it was a mining
plant.
So they knew we were here. He said that we need to leave. We cannot enter the country. All borders are closed. No one gets in or out. And I explained to him that we've been sailing for 7-8 days on a row. We just stopped to have a rest. And we need to wait for a weather window to go because we're really low on fuel. We have fuel like for 2-3 hours and we cannot risk it, use it unless we really need it. And as soon as they come back with the diesel, we have to go on our way, and he's going to try to find out which port we can go in another country that might be open.
So even though I hugged the coast and I hid behind the headlands, the low headland that I thought was going to protect me from that mining plant over there, it wasn't good enough. So we had all sails up. We would have stood out like dog's balls, which we did. So bugger. I should have been more careful. If we came in at night, we would have been okay. But we only had wind. That's the time we had wind, and then it dies in the afternoon. All right, well, we got to start doing stuff.
We're preparing the boat to sail again.
Okay, Margarita's madly making some meals so we can have it for the next few days. We have no money. We had what do we have? $65?
Yeah.
$65, that's all gone into fuel and some pineapple and some limes and whatever he can get. It's, who knows. Margarita's doing that. They even had motorbikes come up on the beach to make sure we weren't getting off the boat. My goodness.
I don't know if you noticed, we ran out of gas too, so we're cooking on the camping stove.
Still haven't worked out why on high revs this motor overheats. We don't have time. I don't have time to even pull this apart. There's other things to do because we know we motored for 5 hours. I think 2 nights ago and the night before at medium revs. So that's okay. Just one last question. You got Isla Las Aves, which is just west of Las Rocos. There's 2 big cays.
In Las Aves, you will have people everywhere. We think that Los Roques are better. Over.
So, what's the situation?
Well, he talked to you, no better than me.
Oh, okay. All right, the situation is we could go to the island south-southeast of Jamaica, which is about 33 miles southeast of Jamaica. But 33 miles is not actually a big distance. They can easily get a boat to come out and kick us off there. And we're losing about 180 miles of east. So I'm thinking that's not a good idea. I spoke to this French guy. He's been to a place called Los Rocos, and that's off Venezuela. Now, it might be that Venezuela is in still a state of turmoil, that they're not really caring about their outer islands. Now, Los Rocos has got an airport and a village, I'm told, but it's in the far north, and they don't have a runabout. So they don't have a boat to manage all the islands. Now, I think roughly it's an oval shape of about 10 by 15 miles. So he's recommend we go to the southeast where there's no one. It's a deserted island. The trouble is we can only go in there on fair conditions, and it's got to be light because we have to meander through the reef.
No, but he said that we could go to the Grenadines, to Union Island and Bekia.
If we can get to the Grenadines or Bekia, Beckway?
Belongs to the Grenadines.
Yeah, if we can get to Bekia or Union, that would be the most preferable thing.
The difficult thing now is not just the wind, is knowing where to go, because no one is able to tell us which country is open and will accept a boat.
Yeah.
We just asked, now we're waiting for the Coast Guard to bring us diesel and food. And I asked if we could try and find out where could we head, because we don't know where to go. It's like a shot in the dark.
Yeah.
Because every port that we go, they're going to deny us entry. And if they are if they respect the international maritime law, they will aid us with water, fuel, and diesel. That's what
we're getting here.
He said, when did you arrive? He exactly knew when we arrived, and he said, at least you had one night's sleep. We're going to provide you with what you need, and you go on your way.
Yeah, and they'll probably escort us outside the country too. So, gee, my arm's getting tired. So, it's shaking around. So, yeah, that's ultimately, but that's like, just at a guess, probably 800 miles away and probably about 600 miles of east. Doesn't matter if it's 800 miles, it's the amount of east that I have to get, into wind. So it might be that it's Los Rocos, but we'll try for the Grenadines. Is the world gone crazy? Is this a really nasty epidemic? We don't know anything about it. We heard that 2% of people get affected.
This was a month ago.
Yeah, maybe it's more. So maybe it's all warranted. We don't know. But I need more than one night's sleep, and to go through all the gear and make sure it's okay. It's not enough time. I mean, they're going to be back soon, and then vamos lá. We have to go. 80 litres of diesel, 120 litres of water, and a small bag of vegetables.
So we got some celery, coriander, and these peppers. I think these are the hot ones. So the boys couldn't.
I'll tell you if it's hot.
The boys couldn't get any other vegetables. They didn't have access to fruits. That's what they got, and the most important, the diesel, and we are already on our way.
Can you check out a look for these lobster pots?
Oh, okay.
I just went past one.
Okay.
As per usual, the wind's against us. Well, at the moment, it's pushing us out because we have to get out. As soon as we turn around this cape, it's going to be on the nose. And guess where we're going to go? Southeast, into a southeast wind. Bugger! Oh, come on, Plucky, don't cry. You'll find an anchorage soon, you big softy. So here was the plan. The forecast was for southeast winds for the rest of the day and tomorrow. This would be perfect for us to run up the east side of the Cape with the wind at 70 or 80 degrees. A bloody milk run. We would easily get there by tomorrow afternoon, and then we could heave to in the bay in the lee at the 6 mile limit. And when the east nor'easter came the next day, we'd sail to the next stopping point for 2 days, heave to in the lee and rest again. I should point out that we were warned by the Coast Guard that we are not allowed to enter Dominican Republic waters anymore, so we can't anchor anywhere and we have to stay outside the 6 mile limit. Otherwise, we will be in big trouble. Once we had all this east up our sleeve, we could then aim for the Grenadines, and if this was pointing too high, we could easily sail to Los Rocos on one tack. Despite being tired, I reckoned I could hold out for another night, but it was a very long night, and the wind had other ideas. Well, going to Widwood is, well, we're no stranger to that. We've been doing that for the last, well, God knows how long. It's crazy.
Yeah, with Peter swearing all the time, saying, we are the only ones doing
We're
this.
the
Who
only
does this?
Yeah.
And I say, just shut up. Let's go and visit the things.
Yeah, anyway, so we went off in the southeast, but it was okay because it was only going to be for, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 hours or something until we rounded the Cape. And then the sou'easter wouldn't have been following us up, but at least the wind would be about 70, 80 or 85 degrees, and that's a picnic compared to it being at 38 degrees. Anyway, rounded the Cape, and there's Venturi around the Cape. It was a bit nasty with wave reflection off the cliffs, and in actual fact, it already started going east or east nor'east. So the forecast that we had was wrong. It was a day early. Or if there's some peculiar thing around this Cape Beta, that might also be the case. But anyway, I left Margaret. I needed a rest because having one night's rest in Dominican Republic was not enough. So I said, Margarita, please just do a couple of hours. And then Margarita had the midnight shift. And what happened there, my beautiful?
Then when I took over, well, it was not too bad because we like wind, right? It's better than not having wind because it's super bad at not having wind. But it was just too much. We had like 30 apparent. So it was getting a bit uncomfortable. But the worst is when you get showers constantly. You go and the boat is slamming in and it goes away. And then you start getting cold because you're soaking wet with the wind on you, and then it's
there's no protection in our boat. You get even a little bit of splash, it goes over the whole length and dumps perfectly in
and then it comes like you are covered and the wave comes and the only spot you have that it's not or it's naked and it's your face, and what it does, straight in your face.
And then it goes there anyway,
and then it goes in.
I relieved Margarita. I only wanted a couple of hours rest. I couldn't rest. I don't know what Margarita was saying. It was good. Look, it's good to have wind, but it was too much. Yeah. And it was on the nose, and I was getting thrown from the lee cloth to the side of the boat, and I couldn't rest. Anyway, I came on board. Margarita was a drowned rat. She was like completely wet and freezing. She didn't do 2 hours, of course. She's a trooper, as always, being sick as well and nauseous and lack of sleep. She did 4 hours. So I took over, and after about an hour, it was getting worse. It was getting stronger. So we were getting close to the cliffs, and I'm pretty sure even if it was an east wind, it gets dragged down for the, it gets bent around in Venturis. And then the autopilot wasn't keeping up. And I didn't really, there's a few things I had to adjust it a few times. And then I noticed this high-pitched whining. And I stuck my ear to the deck because I could hear something. And it was making this terrible noise. And I just quickly sized the situation up. Because it had been becoming east-nor'east, it was not going to be an easy run up to that bay where we could heave to. It wasn't going to be achieved by that afternoon. It would be a day and a half at that because we'd have to tack all the way up. I wasn't going to make it. I was still buggered. So after about 2 minutes of appraising the situation, I went, bugger this. We'll just turn back, go right back to where we got kicked out, heave to at the 6 mile limit, perhaps on the border of Haiti and Dominican Republic.
Where we're still being international waters.
That's right. And if we put it right on the cusp, then Dominican Republic might say, oh, that's Haiti's problem. And then Haiti would say, oh, that's Dominican. And then no one would really bother us. And then heave to, suss out what the problem was. And so I turned back.
And then when
Discretion is the better part of being a pussy.
When I woke up and I said, how many miles have we covered? And Peter says, we turned back. I just said, you kidding me? We did all those miles.
You did the hardest.
We did all
run.
that suffering to turn back. Couldn't we just suffer 2-3 more days and then we're gonna be good? And then it would come. It wouldn't be 2-3 days. It would be 15 days or more.
We wouldn't have made it.
And I said, oh, okay.
Just got a bit of a tricky section. We've got to get round south of this island. I think we've got a counter current and wind against current in this one section. There's a channel that I wanted to go There's a channel I wanted to go up, but it was just full of white water. So let's avoid that one. That's what happens when I talk. My steering's like. So we sailed back round to the western part of the Cape, heading for where we just got kicked out from, and hoping to get in the lee and heaving to and having a rest. But of course the wind followed us all the way around. There's something probably very local and peculiar about this Cape beater, that the wind actually swings around. But it didn't really matter because I decided we weren't going to stop because we got a couple of messages from Tampa Dad. Earlier on, Margarita, when we were in Dominican Republic, when we just got in there, we told him about our plan. We said, look, we're thinking about Los Rocos, which is a island group north of Venezuela, and the Eastern Caribbean, maybe the Grenadines. And he came through with some messages. So what was he saying?
That had been like a party in Los Rocos, and what was it that had were infected or something?
Didn't he say something about the Venezuelan elite? The political hierarchy, all their kids were in Los Rocos partying hard, and they've spread the disease, so it's in lockdown. So he said it's not a good move to go there. Not that we'd get exposed. We were going to hide in a deserted part, but there's most likely to be patrols, he was thinking. And then what was the bad news about the Eastern Caribbean?
The Eastern Caribbean was that we might be able to get in a country, but we're going to have to leave the boat in a marina, and we have to go to an hotel, and that's something we simply cannot afford. So our plan was, if we could go to some place, we had to be doing our quarantine at Anchorage, which was not the case.
Yeah, so we couldn't do that, and we couldn't sneak into Los Rocos, and we certainly couldn't risk. It's like 7 to 8 days, the plan to get to Los Rocos. That's on a possibility. That's ridiculous. So we didn't end up heaving to. We decided, look, let's just head for Haiti.
Because it was the closest thing.
That's right.
And we needed to rest.
Yeah, we really needed a rest. Margarita had been a trooper for so long. She was been over it for 4 or 5 days since then. And I was buggered as well. So we headed for Haiti. But how good's this, the bungee? It goes from 41 to about 65 degrees and just finds its own way. You gotta love heaving too. I can see Haiti over there. I don't want to get in too early because they'll kick us out. I want to go in right after the officials have knocked off work, so around 5. And then hopefully we'll get in and then they won't be bothered to kick us out until tomorrow. And at least we can get a good night's sleep. Don't you think this is comfortable? What's wrong with you? See? Super stable. Just got it from the bus. Very happy. Actually, not very happy at all. Alright, we're on our way. 2 hours. It'll be at 5 PM and it'll be out the front. And then we've got an hour to motor around into the bay. And when we put the sails down, that's going to be about 6 miles away from the immigration office. So hopefully no one will see anything. We're 6 miles out. And I think that's their international limit. But look how hazy it is. I mean, you can't see anything. I reckon even when I'm going to drop sails just on the back of this island. If they say, why didn't you communicate? Well, we just say we came from the southeast and he's behind the island, so he probably wouldn't have picked up the signal. All right. See if this baby works. Much easier to go left. I mean right. You're aiming for the island. Yeah, it's hard to go that way, isn't it? just turn away from the island.
Well, I'm trying. But really slow.
Keep going, push. That's it. There you go. This is so airy, no boats, and we're coming into past this beautiful island. Apparently that's where immigration is, but no one's around, no boats. Jeez, I hope we don't get in trouble. Well, what can we do? To add to the story, I took off the steering wheel.
Ilha Avash was the perfect spot for us to hide out. It was like the perfect little island, beautiful cliffs, green all over, with just one sailboat. We couldn't see anyone around, so it was just, we said, perfect, we're gonna be able to stay here. No one is gonna bother us.
Yeah, no one. It was like there was no one around. There was no boats around. Nothing. Just one other boat anchored, and it didn't look like anyone was home. So it was what, half an hour before sunset. It was perfect timing. This is it. We needed to get sleep. And like, I should say something about how much sleep you get. I mean, I'm a bad sleeper, you know, at the best of times. But when you're rocking like this, you're barely getting 2 or 2.5 hours sleep a day. And you get so tired that you start making mistakes, and your body literally, you'll have 40-minute cat naps or 20-minute cat naps because you're so tired and you'll fall asleep with the sun blaring in your face. Anyway, and Margarita, she needs a bit more sleep.
We are both light sleepers, so if you're a heavy sleeper, that's the best thing you can have if you live on a sailboat.
What I do to be a heavy sleeper. Anyway, and so we thought, great, we might even get away. Well, we're certainly going to get away with this one night. No one around. Sun's going down half an hour. What can happen? We might even get away with 2 nights. Oh, heaven forbid.
2 dams, Coast Guard.
Yeah, so it was a bit of an unhappy situation, but this is a funny story. When they came up to us, they didn't want to come up to us. You could see plainly they were paranoid. They were like 30 or 40 metres away. They asked for our documents, but they didn't want to come and collect our documents. And then they asked Margarita, they said, where was your last stamp? And then there was a bit of a problem.
I said, look, we don't have a stamp, but our last port was Cuba. We have the ZARP where it has our names, our passport, everything. No! If you don't have a stamp, you have to leave now.
Like right now. And you could hear all the rustling and angst. They're going, oh my God, these guys are,
and then he was
diseased.
He was speaking on the radio with Peter, and Peter kept looking at me and say, look, just tell him that the Cubans, they're just, they're nice. And because if you're American, they don't stamp your passport, so you don't have any problem when you get back to the U.S. In our case, we're not Americans, but our vessel is American. So they're just trying to help us out. He said, look, the ZARP is what you need. It has our names, our passport. It's signed by the captain.
As soon as they heard there was no stamp, you have to go now. Like now. And look.
And Peter just kept looking at me and say, just talking the radio, man. This is Haiti. He's speaking in English. It's like you're not needing my Spanish. And he kept looking at me like, what do I say? What do I say?
Yeah. Now, look, if this was Australia or America or something like this, it's at night, we just come through reefs and shoals to get here, I would have just said, no, I'm not leaving. I'm not going. It's dangerous. We cannot go. In maritime law, we require at least one night's rest and we need assistance. But in these countries, in Central America, South America, and parts of the Caribbean, their due process is different. And you don't know if they're just going to come aboard and put a gun at you. We don't know. And I've got Margarita to think of, and I'm not thinking the best anyway because I'm not sleeping. And I'm thinking, shit, what do you do? And so they say go, and they've definitely got guns on board.
We never were able, so you could see, this is dark, right? But they have a light pointed to our boats. So it's super bright. We cannot see them, but we never were able. They were so far away that we could never see one of their faces or how many people were in their boat.
Yeah, but so once
It's
they
just-
say go, yeah, we had to go.
They just arrived 30 minutes ago. I started doing dinner and Peter is fixing the steering. And we explained to them that if we leave now, we would crash the boat, we would have an accident, so we need to fix the steering in order to be able to go. So they gave us 30 minutes. Peter said, I'm not able to do it in 30 minutes. So they said in 2 hours, you have 2 hours to fix it and you have to go. And this is our dilemma now. We don't know where to go and it's dark as we have no clue what to do.